All right, we are live. Hello and welcome everybody. Rajiv ji is with us. He is a U.S. immigration lawyer, and we do this every Wednesday, 1 p.m. California time, and then every other Thursday. So tomorrow we will be back again. But before we get started, I have something to share with all the international students. If you are into job hunting, please watch this video and we will be back. Let me ask you this. Do you have a clear job hunting strategy to get an internship or a full-time job? Most people don't, and it's costing them opportunities. I've helped over 1100 students with their strategies through my ultimate job hunting course.
And trust me, I'm not even kidding. I could see so many recruiters viewing my profile.
And it's been the best investment I've ever made.
The content is incredibly practical, filled with tips and strategies that make you stand out to recruiters.
It was one of the best courses that I have done till date.
This course covers everything that you need to stand out. You will get ultimate resume course, you will get ultimate LinkedIn course, networking strategy, access to 1100 plus job seekers for support, and personal support from me through WhatsApp group. I will walk you through every single step that you need with real examples and the tools that will give you an edge. I don't want you to miss any other opportunity to land your next job or an internship. If you're interested, check the link in the description, or you can simply go to link.udj.com/job hunting, or you can just scan this QR code and it will take you to the same destination. And now back to the session. All right, we are back. Again, link will be in the description. Rajiv ji, you have some snarky comment. I see it coming.
I should take your course.
Yeah, you don't need a job. You are the job creator.
Charged.
Yeah. Okay. I know that you mentioned it to me on the text that there is increased denials and delays. And then I think someone said like they want to hear the insight from you on president executive orders being signed on daily basis. So maybe that's where we start the session. What's happening in latest immigration world with the whole increased denial delays? What are you seeing on your end?
Nothing has been signed that affects immigration more recently. Whatever was done when he first took office and signed 100 plus orders. But there appears to be a strange phenomenon occurring, and it's not uniform yet. It's not happening everywhere. But if you observe the chatter amongst immigration lawyers, and if you, from our own office, we do get some odd RFEs, and we've just been retained for a denial, a 485 denial for a family of 4 people, which makes no sense. We are looking at it, and I told them, I said, your lawyer has done a good job. I don't see anything wrong here. Why do you want us to do it? So they want us to do it anyway. I think people get nervous and they just want to go to old lawyers. People with gray hair, they feel more comfortable. Not that I can do anything more than their own lawyer can do, but So I was looking at that, and we've had like 3 discussions in the office that what is wrong with this denial? And then we had one denial in our own office. That makes no sense. That poor young lady, first they told her, and this is really, really weird. First they told her, you traveled while your I-485 was pending, so your 485 is gone. So I never traveled. I've been here. I have not outside the country at all. It took them 5 months to resolve that. It started before Trump. But after that, now recently they denied her case, saying that you've left the country without an advance parole. She has the advance parole. I don't know why they keep insisting. So now we have to file a motion to reopen, get this whole thing opened again. We are also getting weird RFEs on H-1Bs. Some of that is understandable because the regulations changed on January 17th, right? So new regulations came in, and there is some difficulty there trying to adjust to it. I want to also point out, I've done a couple of consultations, and one of them I had to cut short. I'm very sorry about that, because we had 15 minutes and we tried to cover as much ground as we could. This young man wanted to know if he could start his own company on his own H-1B. And I said, you can, theoretically under the regulations, but I've got 3 variables that I'm concerned about. One variable is, what is Trump going to do with these regulations? Because these regulations were enacted 3 days before Trump took power. January 17, they are enacted. 20th, he got sworn in. Is he going to let them remain? Now, the regulations create no new rights except a clarification of the old rights. The only thing they did was they clarified that even if you are a majority stockholder, you can still own your own company. But that's the first variable. What is Trump going to do? And I don't think even he knows most days what he's going to do. Second variable is, you realize, or variable or concern is that you realize you have to pay your own salary. If you do an H-1B through your own company, you have to pay yourself. You have to pay yourself whatever the prevailing wage for the highest job is, which is the third concern. Let's say you are a CEO and a software developer. Okay. To maintain that H-1B, you must either prove that the CEO's job needs your degree or that the software developer job needs your degree. Whichever one you are basing it on, you are then proving to the government that you are going to do that job, the H-1B job, at least 51% of the time. Okay. 49% of the time you're the CEO, 51% or you can even answer your phones or whatever you're doing, which is non-H-1B activities. But here is the problem. You need to be paid the highest salary or the higher of the salaries, whatever occupation mixture you are engaged in.
So CEO salary then.
CEO salary, which is $300,000. I said, calm down. It's a good thing to have. We like this provision, but there are kinks in this that haven't been quite worked out. So what is the solution? One solution is, don't consider yourself to be CEO. You can represent the company as a senior software developer as well. Okay. And you're not hiring and firing people right now, so there's no CEO-like a role necessary. As long as you make it clear in your H-1B filing and the government approves the H-1B.
Interesting. Okay.
And that brings me to my last point. Keep a backup option. Don't resign your job and say, take your job and, shove it.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't burn your bridges. And the very last thing I want to mention to all young entrepreneurs, make sure, it might be worth a few dollars to do a consultation with a smart local business lawyer, wherever you're opening a company, a business lawyer or an intellectual property lawyer or an employment lawyer. See, many companies will have this rule, or they have it in their employee manual, employee handbook, or they'll have it in your employment contract, that you're supposed to devote your time exclusively to their job. If you start something on the side, they can come and say, we own this. This is ours. Okay. And there is some weirdness in the law that even if you develop it at home at night, they could still come and say, well, this is mine. It depends upon the state law. I'm not an expert in this area, but I do remember. See, as an immigration lawyer, you have to be aware of many different areas of the law. You can't just say, okay, this is not my field. So if you're a doctor, you can't say, I don't do legs, I only do hands. You have to know the whole body, right? Even if you're an expert in the eye, you have to know the whole body. So just be careful with these 4 or 5 things. So what is Trump going to do? Is it a mixture of jobs? What percentage is what? Do I have a backup plan? All these things need to be considered. I'm not discouraging you guys. Because if you look at this, another point I want to make is, if you look at it, I know this was not planned, but it kind of came up. So I just want to finish this.
Yeah.
See, think of another thing. If you, also the intellectual property aspect, if you take a chance, you get an H-1B or you get an H-1B denial, then what? You can just go outside USA, come back again. Next flight in, or just go to Mexico, come back in. If there is a violation of status, it can be cured by a short trip outside and coming back on an H-1B visa. So you can go back to your old employer. Therefore, don't burn any bridges. If you need to go back, have that option ready. So my point is, if we do disaster planning, what is the worst that can happen? Not much. So if you want to take a risk, but take a risk knowingly. Don't jump into a river saying crocodiles are not going to eat me. Make sure there are no crocodiles there, right?
And what other delays are you seeing?
Oh yeah, delays have been mounting, and then on top of that, if you devote resources to, although benefit section should not be that involved in deportations, but I think it does impact the system when resources are being used for deportation. I think things are only going to get delayed. Somebody was talking to me this morning. Somebody called from India. We had a consultation. And they asked me, Rajiv, if we do our parents' green card, how quickly will that come? So, 1 to 2 years, easily, maybe closer to 2 than 1. But it used to take 4 months. I said, when? During the Bronze Age? No. It doesn't take 4 months anywhere anymore. Those are
okay. Nice. All right. We will get into Q&A. And I know there are 300 plus people. Before we get into the Q&A, we are going to take a quick, short 60-second break.
Again?
Yes. We spoke for 10 minutes. Okay, cool. We will be back after this. If you're Indian in United States, then I know this is one of the things that you would be absolutely doing, sending money to your parents or family back in India. And I know there are many platforms available, and trust me, I have probably tried most of them. But I recently came across Grobo Money, which is by far giving the best exchange rate ever. I am not kidding. You can look this for yourself, and this is their USP. They also have no hidden fees as they believe in transparency. In fact, they have zero fees and it is super secure. There are no minimums. I have literally used Grobo Money for sending as little as $100 without paying any fees. This won't be possible in other platforms. I started using them in September 2024. Then I reached out to them, see if we could partner it, and they happily agreed. And to make this even better, they are going to give $25 Amazon gift card after you do your first transaction, which is over $500. So I highly recommend that you give it a try and let me know what you think. You can go to link.udj.com/Grobo by UD right here, or you can scan this QR code and go straight to it, and make sure to use the code UDJ during the sign up so that way you get that $25 Amazon gift card. And now back to the session. Rajiv, do you send money back to India?
I'm thinking you should do the transaction. I should get the 25.
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Cool. All right.
Yeah, I think we just send it via bank transfers. Don't do a lot of it, not much to. So bank transfers is typically what we do.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go. What is the rule for how many days we can stay in United States on B1, B2 visa? Second question, any benefits in processing time for of H4 EAD while filing H1 extension along with H4 extension and H4 EAD in premium processing?
Okay, so the first part, how many days can we stay in the US on B1, B2 visa? Now, you're not saying B1, B2 visa, you're saying B1, B2 status. Because if you are in the US already, and let's say somebody got laid off, they applied for B1, B2, they are doing a change of status. They're not getting a new visa. Visa is a stamp on the passport given by the consulate. Okay. So how many days can you stay? For both from people coming up from outside USA as well people inside USA changing status to B1, B2. It is determined by your I-94. And usually it is only for 6 months. But you can extend it 1 or 2 times if you have reason to do so. One time they are giving routinely so far. More than one time, you might still get it, but you'll have to have a good reason. Typically, what I recommend to people, this may not be relevant, but it's important to note anyway. Make sure that you document all the efforts you've been making to find a job, interviews that you've done, how many people have you contacted for the second and the third extension. Now, if you bundle H1, H4, H4 EAD all together, will the government give you expedited processing of everything, including the H4, H4 EAD? The answer is no. That is not required because the agreement that the government had done in a litigation that expired in January. So they are no longer bound by that. And even when they were bound by it, their treatment of these bundled cases was irregular. You never knew what they are going to do. The answer is there's no guarantee. But if you are going to do premium processing, how does it hurt? Try bundling anyway and request it anyway.
Okay. My H-1B cap exempt visa was approved on November 20, 2024, but I lost my job on January 17, 2025. Can I change my visa status back to F1 OPT since I have time left on my employment authorization?
No. So H-1B cap exempt was approved. And I'm assuming you did a change of status. Once you do a change of status and you assume that status, you cannot go back to your OPT.
So the option is find a job within 60 days?
Or apply for B1, B2 or similar status.
Yeah. Okay.
There is one exemption for these types of cases. Let's say the H-1B change of status is kicking in on October 1st. Okay. And you were on OPT. When you were on OPT and you applied for change of status, your service got cancelled. Okay. But if you can prove that your H1 has been requested withdrawn before October 1st, you can reinstate your service. But here you've crossed that line. You already changed that status.
Got it. Okay. Laid off on STEM OPT, a consultancy offering to put me on a payroll without project contract. They will market my profile to find another project after putting me on payroll. What do you advise? Any red flags?
And there are a couple of red flags. First of all, I doubt very much the government has backed off the position that on STEM OPT, the company that sponsors you, let's call it that, is the company who's supervising you. They can't put you at a client site because then they're not supervising you. Unless there can be one exemption, and it should be taken a look at very carefully. That exemption could be, what if my team is working at a client site and I have my own supervisor in that team, and that supervisor is going to supervise you at the client premises? That might work. Okay, that's the first red flag. Second red flag is that I don't know how easily people say they're going to run my payroll unless they're actually going to pay you. If they're just going to pretend to pay you, which is run your payroll and then take cash money back from you, that's fraud. That's really, really bad fraud. And it's easy to prove.
It's fine. I had a follow-up, but it won't make sense. And it's not real. So let's not go into hypothetical. Really? And then you will call me out saying like, don't overthink.
You do tend to overthink. I've noticed.
I do. Yes, we are Men in Black today.
That's exactly what I said, Arjun.
Okay, cool. Here we go. My perm March 2024 is in processing. I'm currently on my 6th year of H1B. If the perm process takes longer than October 2025, what are my options? Also, is it safe to travel to India on 6th year?
Okay. So, hi, good evening. Sehwag, Virinder Sehwag, yeah? Okay. You are quite a good guy, I tell you. Love watching you play. Because your application was filed in March 24. In March 25, you're entitled to 6th year extension. Okay. And you can apply for an extension 6 months ahead of time. Let me do the math for you. So your 6 years are expiring October 25, right? You're entitled to a 1 year extension on March 25, right? So in March 25, you can apply for an extension, but not March, April, because you can't do it more than 6 months ahead. You can then tag on 1 year to October 2025, and then you can travel. So that means you can apply anytime on or after March 24, and you can apply 6 months ahead. That is April. So October to April is 6 months, right? So you apply in April for 1 year on top of October 2025. Then that way you will have H1B extension in October 2026.
Hmm.
And you can keep doing those 1-year extensions until the I-140 is approved. Then you can start getting 3-year extensions.
Complex. Okay.
Not that complex. Once you know how it works.
I guess that's why it's complex for me. I work for a non-profit organization, university. They filed my H-1B through a regular processing. My OPT expires on 12th May. Don't have stamp OPT option. Should I go for premium processing around April?
Yeah, why not? If Saya, if they say that, or Sayan, I don't know how to say her name, forgive me. If the employer says, look, we don't want to spend the money and rather have you sit at home and watch IPL or whatever your flavor of watching television is, that's okay. But if they want you to work, because you're not out of status, you can continue to sit at home and not work after your OPT expires. But if they want you to continue to work, they should premium it. And they should premium it sooner rather than later.
Okay. I plan to return to US in May as I have few commitments back home. Will this create any hurdle since my visa got stamped in November and I'll be returning after 6 months of getting my visa stamp?
What kind of visa, Niva?
There we go. My H-1B visa got stamped in November 2024.
So if you are coming 5, 6, 7 months late, carry a letter from the employer that explains that they still have the job open for you, and that if they have a good business reason, they can give a business reason. For example, we had a client who worked with some very large organizations in Washington, D.C., and they had a few hundred people sitting in India, a few hundred people sitting in USA. So one of their guys came a year and a half after his H-1B visa stamp. So they were concerned, is this going to work out? And so what we did was we wrote a detailed letter explaining that he was working for our India branch in the meantime, and the project that he was supposed to do from inside USA, he was doing from outside USA because his entire group was there. Okay. But the next stage of the project for which we had done the H-1B would be done in US. So he was delayed because the client wanted him to stay back and finish his project part in India. So then he traveled back, and they didn't even ask him for a letter, even though he was a year and a half out from getting a visa stamped. Nowadays, they might ask, but you should have a letter from your employer explaining. Also, make sure that there is somebody they can reach. If the CBP wants to reach somebody, they should be able to reach them with a phone call.
Okay. I have started my company and my OPT starts at 17th February. I want to work for my company. Please explain.
So, Banuji, I'm assuming that you are in the first year of OPT. If you are in the first year of OPT, you have to prove two things. One, you are working in your own area of expertise, whatever your study major was. So if you're a computer science major, you are working in developing software or writing code or systems analysis, whatever is involved in the software development lifecycle. Okay. So you have to prove that you're working in your own area of expertise. And two, you have to prove the number of hours you work. How do you do that? So if you're working on a contract basis, then your timesheets will prove that, especially those that have been paid. Okay. So two things you need to prove: number of hours worked, which should be at least 20 each week, paid or unpaid, and that you are working in your own area of expertise.
Okay. And follow up, if the company, I mean, obviously, if there are people who are working for volunteer work, NGOs and non-profits, how do they track hours? Like, is it as simple as?
Yeah, they going in, they tell the employer, look, we are going to need to track my hours. So every employer has some way of tracking the number of hours worked, whether it's timesheets or there's a check-in, check-out card kind of a system, electronic system. So just say, please, I need to be a part of that, even if it is with zero pay.
Timesheet, it's like, that sounds so old school.
It still works.
Do you guys do timesheets in your?
No, we have cards, and nobody. I mean, Nobody's in the office, man. There's like 2 people in the office. And I told you, right? I asked
Yeah,
people,
you should sell that.
guys, how about we all get together back in? No, we are okay. I said, well, that's the wrong answer. I didn't ask you how you were doing. I said, how about we start getting together? Nobody wants to come back. I think I'm
Okay, so can it? So again, so for the non-profit unpaid internship, can it be like a spreadsheet where we are tracking the hours and send it to?
Somebody has to sign off on it.
Matlab send it to like, hey, here's what I did, and then they.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
got it. Okay. My H-1B was approved on October 17, 2024. Can my employer start the perm process immediately, or are there any waiting periods? What are the current processing times for each step? Oh,
This last name Thakur is also very interesting. It can be Bengali, it can be Bihari, it can be
Bengali. I've never heard of Bengali Thakur.
Thakor. So many Thakors.
Mm.
So anyhow, Abhishek ji, there is no layoff, there's no a cooling off period. You can start anytime. You can start even before you start the H1B. Number one. The time, typically, the biggest problem is the prevailing wage. It can easily take 7-8 months, 1 year even. Okay. Then the perm itself could take another year. If there's an audit, there's a supervised recruitment, there are some variables. It can extend the process to almost 2 years. But normally, most people get through with it in 1 year and about 2 years, 1 year, 7-8 months.
Okay, Ronak says he's here and his question is extremely long. Ronak, can you try some part of your question? All right. Can someone travel outside of USA being on O1A, and if their EB1A I-140 is approved, is it risky to go to without AP?
There are several kinds of visas, non-immigrant visas. Some that say, okay, if you have a green card pending, no problem. Those are called dual intent visas, like H1, L1, H2, H4, L2. Then you have visas where it's not quite clear how we arrive at that point that there's no problem with the green card pending, but that's how it is. O1 is one of those. So O1 says it's okay, you can have a green card pending, we don't care. But it's not by statute, it's more by policy. It's the same for E2, even E3. You can have, I think H1B1 is an exception. You can't have dual intent. But most of the others, there is either express or implied dual intent. And O1 has one of those. I actually had, a few years back, I had a guy stuck in one of our clients. I think it's about 10 years back, stuck. And we actually did a whole write-up for the consulate saying, you can't do this. You have to let him come in. And these are implied dual intent visas. And they agreed. So.
Okay. Since we can start a company on OPT after graduation and be unpaid on it, how do we prove our numbers of Arkan since it needs to be more than 20 hours? I think it's similar.
It has to be 20 hours, not more than 20 hours. It has to be 20 hours. You have to figure out a way to prove it. How do you do it? What if you have coworker? You have a supervisor? Or what if you are billing clients for it? I just talked about that, timesheets. So I had a young lady who was a graphics designer, and she did her OPT doing freelancing and on 1099. Remember, you don't have to be on a W-2. You can be on a 1099 as an independent contractor. And she was fine. She actually traveled and came back during her OPT. No issues.
Yeah, but in this case, what if they don't have like paying customers yet and they're still just working on the app or something?
Very difficult to prove. I don't know how you're going to do it.
Okay. Unless you have a board of directors and maybe they can sign off or something.
Board of directors, a friend who can. You remember how these Upwork and all these platforms have? So the moment you start talking to a developer, the timer starts clicking.
There's also an app called Toggle. People can use that also. It's a time tracking app.
Yeah, so something like that, and hopefully that plays out in your favor. But ideal situation is that you've got timesheets for which you get paid.
Yeah.
And even if you don't get paid, somebody's signing off on them.
Okay. Due to personal situation, I'm applying for adjustment of status, I have 485 for myself. Can my wife continue on her own H1B or F1? Any issues during her renewals?
F1 can be problematic, but H1 no issues. Okay. F1, because when you filed I-140, you listed her as your spouse, and that can be considered to be being part of a green card application. Okay. But for H1B, it's zero problem. No issue at all. You can do your 485 and she can continue doing her own merry thing.
Okay. My employer has filed my change of status but never informed me, and it got approved on 11th November 2024. I went to India for a few days in December and came back on a F1 OPT as I was not aware about my H1B situation. So, is my H1B still valid? How do I process it?
I think Ronak and I were talking on my LinkedIn page, and I was telling him, just come to one of our community conferences. Hi, Ronak.
Yeah.
So, oh, by the way, I've got a bunch of people on LinkedIn that I can't connect to because you've not verified your identities. Guys, please, 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 when you send me a request, do two things. At least put your picture there so that we know who you are, and verify your identity. It's very easy to do. So just make sure you do that before you send me a LinkedIn request. So for you, Ronak, the easy thing to do is this. You made a mistake, not realizing what has happened. This mistake is very easy to correct. All you need to do is go outside USA. Don't stay here. Don't continue to stay here. Go outside USA. You can go to any country around you. Mexico, Canada, if you have a visa. Mexico doesn't require a visa if you fly from USA. Costa Rica, Bahamas, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, any of these countries. Just look at their visa processing times. Just Google it, visa processing times, and they have a spreadsheet. They used to have an automated system. Now they have a spreadsheet. So thank you, President Trump. I mean, it's really crazy. Anyhow, so go get your visa stamp, H1B visa stamp. When you step back with the H1B visa, all your sins are washed away. It's like taking a dip in the river Ganges. So you become pure as newborn, new fallen snow. So easy.
So his H1B is still valid. He just has to go back and come on H1B, basically.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. Because actually he has already used his H1B. Because he did a change of status, right? So we are way past October now. He already worked on H1B. He just didn't know it.
Is there a time restriction on within how many days I need to stamp?
Today or tomorrow or the day after. As quickly as you can, Ronak. Don't sit on it. Because you are, I would say that you are out of status in the United States because you don't have an F1.
Okay. There we go. If I switch from H1B cap exempt to B2, can I legally job hunt and apply for non-profit or for-profit jobs? If I hired, can I revert to H1B cap exempt?
So you cannot apply, Bhagyasri ji, you cannot apply for cap jobs because you've not gone through the lottery. But can you apply for cap exempt jobs? Sure.
Yeah. Well, she can apply for cap jobs, but
she won't
she will need.
She won't be able to get an H1B unless she goes to the lottery.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, in other words, going from your cap exempt H1B to B1, B2 does not wash away the need to go through the lottery if you want to go to a cap job.
Okay. Follow up on H1B timeline. At what stage of perm process can I change my employer without restarting the green card?
Never. Even when you get the I-140 approval, you can't change employers without having to start all over again. You get some benefits. You get your priority date. You get the right to extend your H1B beyond 6 years if you stay for 6 months, 180 days. But if you change employers, even after the I-140 approval, you will have to start the green card all over again. The only stage at which you become safe is called AC21, American Competitiveness in the 21st Century. AC21 portability, that's the name of the law. And that only attaches when your I-140 has been approved and your priority date become current, you filed the 485 and 485 has been pending 180 days. Then you can change jobs. It's a long time in the future. 10, 15 years.
Okay. I'm on H1B since last October and I haven't had my first stamp. I want to visit home and get the stamping done. Do you think this will be the right time to do that, considering what's going on? And then there's, I wish my mom could come and stay with me for longer than 6 months on her visitor visa. Is there something that can be done?
Okay. So the separate questions. Is it safe to get a visa stamp? So it depends. It depends upon the posture of your visa. If you're working in-house for a well-established company with no negative antecedents, nothing negative against the company anywhere, getting an H-1B is probably going to be a lot easier. Okay. But if you're working through a staffing company, through 7 layers of vendors with a end client, things might be more difficult. Not necessarily, but they might be. I mean, that is kind of anticipated. Okay. So first we have to figure out, is your H-1B uncomplicated? You have a degree, you're working in an area that requires that degree, the company is solid, the job is solid, you've been paid, and the company is okay with you taking a break. So those are at least statistically easy cases to get approved. But you want to have this conversation with the employer that if I get stuck, can I work from India? Right? Because it's perfectly legal for you to work from India. There's nothing wrong with that. They can continue paying you in USA. You continue working in India. That way, you cover your bases in case you get delayed. Okay, so that takes care of that part. Now, mom. So mom can come and visit, and you can even do a B1, B2 extension. But I am very reluctant to do those B1, B2 extensions because there's a very vicious little thorn that comes with the rose of extension, and that is called Section 222G. 222G, not to be confused with 221G, which is how they delay you for visa. This one says, if you stay in the United States past your approved stay, which is 6 months, your visa is automatically cancelled. Okay, what does that mean? So mom came about a month or 2 months before her 6 months were going to expire. I applied for her extension, tourist visa extension, tourist status extension. That extension stayed pending for 5 months. In the 6th month, it got denied. Or in the 3rd month, it got denied. Now I have overstayed my I-94, original 180 days. My visa is automatically cancelled. You know how long it takes to get a visa appointment in India? It was 446 days last time I checked. Over a year. So if the visa gets automatically revoked by the operation of 222G, it will take forever and 1 day to get her visa. So let her come for 6 months, let her go back, unless something changes.
Okay. Laid off with a pending H1B, filed I-539, change of status to B2, H1B approved post-layoff as employer didn't withdraw, B2 denied. What would you recommend filing I-290B?
No, Sid, leave the country. If the B2 is denied, there is no appeal against a B2. You can do a motion to reopen, but you are accruing unlawful presence. From the day the B2 is denied and you file a 290B for a motion to reopen or motion to reconsider, and let's say you shoot over 180 days waiting for that to be decided, and then it gets denied, now you've accrued unlawful presence of 181 days. That means you can't come back to the United States for 3 years. Okay, unless you get a waiver, which is again another procedure and quite complicated.
But he says H1B approved. So can he not go back on H1B?
So he's not, the problem is his B2 was denied. Okay. His H1B was approved post layoff. So they got laid off, but they didn't, the employer didn't withdraw the H1B. Obviously, they didn't know this was required by law. But that doesn't mean you are in status, right? When you applied for B1, B2, if you applied late, you were probably already out of status. Okay. And so B1, B2 was denied, but that H1B, somewhere along the line, if the employer has withdrawn it, you would be accruing unlawful presence. just be careful. It's 290B is not worth it.
Yeah. Okay. I'll graduate master's degree in May 2025. Do you advise using a regular or premium EAD process? I'm applying as of February 12, 2025. 86 days remaining before graduation. I'm assuming he's talking about OPT.
Yeah. Rahulji, that's very difficult to say. Okay. Because I don't know how long they're going to take to approve the EAD. And the problem is, once you hit a certain date, now you are accruing those unemployment days, right? Because even though your EAD is not yet approved, when it will be approved, you'll be accruing unlawful presence days. So I think, not unlawful presence, unemployment days. So be careful with that.
What happened?
I'm just getting unsynced items recovered by the system. I think there's something wrong with Google hosting.
Okay. Sid says, could you read the reply to my comment? I cannot. Can you post it again? I guess. Okay. Ronak is saying, falling back, my I-94 says F1 as I entered USA on F1 OPT. My OPT is ending in 2 weeks. Can I apply for STEM OPT? No. Or should I just go ahead with the H-1B stamping?
Go ahead with your H-1B stamping.
Okay. Can I work in changing of visa status from H-1B to L2s? I have valid I-94 and passport showing L2s with I-539 receipt.
Can I work in changing of visa status from H? No. You cannot work until your L2 change of status is approved, or you go outside USA and come back because you have a visa stamp, right? So yeah, no, you cannot work until you get a change of status. An I-94 that says you are L2/S.
Okay. Have you seen increase in RFE denials for POMs filed for future position for Indian citizens?
Not so far, Vic. No.
Okay. My spouse H4 EAD application is pending, filed with H1B approval expiring July 2025. Since I'm filing my H1B extension this month, do we need to reapply or update the existing application?
You should apply for her because July is, you're applying. You can apply. See, this is one thing I don't know for sure. There is a 6-month rule on H1B. You can't apply more than 6 months ahead of time. There's also a 6-month rule on the EAD, but there's no 6-month rule on the H4. You can apply for H4 before 6 months. So in order to avoid any complication and confusion, I would wait if you can afford to wait. I would wait until I can apply. I'm within that 6-month window. With the 6 month of July is what? Already there, right? February to July is 6 months already. So yeah, apply for her, but ask for activation beginning July 2025.
Okay. If I get no cap H1B, will my spouse be also limited to work in no cap job if we file for H4?
No. Mansiji, he is not, he or she is not restricted by your H1B cap. Their EAD is open market EAD. They can do anything they want.
So weird. It's like H4 EAD.
And not only that, after doing this for 35 years, I still have to go back and look at the law. Many times I discover something new.
Following up, if I secure a new job, can I change my status back from P2 to H1B cap exempt visa?
Absolutely. If you Google my name, Rajiv S. Khanna, Economic Times, I have, I think the most recent article talks about how you can convert to B2 and then back to H1B.
Yep. Okay. I'm on H1B stamped visa, but my wife is in Canada. Is it risky to visit her on weekends every week?
Not at all. Just remember one thing. I mean, on the Canadian side, they might object, because if you are traveling for less than 30 days at one go, you are covered by automatic visa revalidation. So USA won't stop you coming back. And if you have a visa, that removes that problem altogether. But going every weekend to see your wife, I think it's very reasonable. Why not?
Okay. Working on volunteer unpaid, do we require to file W-2 or 1099 form or any other? Please elaborate on this.
So I'm not a tax person. I won't be able to answer that question accurately. You can call IRS. But if you are unpaid, I'm not sure you're required to file any of these things, but that's not really my field. Please check with the IRS. They have a helpline and they're usually pretty good about it. Or talk to your CPAs.
Yeah. I mean, you won't get W-2 if you didn't get paid.
You won't get W-2 and you don't need a 1099. Can you get a 1099 with zero? Sure, I guess so. I don't see any law that says you can't. But then again,
but you still, I think they still need to file taxes. But that's again.
Well, they should talk with somebody who knows what they're talking about. I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just saying things.
I already have an admit and I-20 for fall 2025. Should I start looking for F1 visa appointments in March, April, or should I wait for some interview experiences after Trump has taken over?
I haven't heard anything about F1 visas so far.
The only thing I've heard is that 36% less visa was approved for spring season.
Yeah, but hold on. Was the number of applicants the same? So 36% fewer people might have just applied.
That's a good question. Or more people have applied, so there's more rejection.
No. If there is, when you say 36, is it 36% rejection or 36% lesser approval? For it's 36% fewer approval, it could be that 36% fewer people applied.
Yeah, sorry. So I meant 36% more rejection than last spring season.
I'm sure more people have not applied, but how do you know that? Do we have that statistic somewhere?
Yeah, there's some. I mean, I don't have
visa
it.
Statistics are public record.
Yeah, but there is some firm who sent it to me.
Surprised. That doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah. And but the thing is, it's also like spring, right? So it was before Trump because spring session already started.
Yeah, so it can't be Trump eclipse before he actually passes the sun. We are blaming a lot of things on Trump also. I'll tell you this. I saw third air crash in the last 3 days, right? This time it was a military aircraft. And I'm thinking, did Trump fire air traffic controllers? So I went and Googled that. It turns out he has not fired any air traffic controllers. He's fired some aviation professionals, but that should not have an impact on
the crash. Yeah.
In some ways, he's going to be blamed for everything.
Right. Okay. I'm on valid H-1B visa, but my visa is expired. Is it okay to work without a valid visa?
So Hemanji, you need to talk to your lawyer. Because once you're inside the US, we don't care about your visa. You need an active I-94. If your I-94 is valid, you're okay to work.
Can someone check their I-94?
Because when you get a I-797A, when you get the approval, at the bottom of it, the bottom sixth of it is the I-94. They should cut it and give it to you.
But like Abhi, can I go? I think it's online, right? Like I can go online.
I'm not sure you will see those online because the I-94s that you see online are those which you get at the airport when you come in. Do they have a record of these I-94s? I don't think so. I've never tried it.
Okay. Revant is asking, my employer full-time job added an additional work site when my H-1B extension was filed, but now I won't be working at that secondary work site. Is that an issue?
No, I don't think so. Revanji, you can double check with your lawyers. But if I'm approved for 3 locations and I choose to work only at one, that's fine.
Okay. Following up, how difficult will it be for Trump to implement Build America visa program that will provide 57% green card to employment-based visa?
He won't get it through the Republicans. Democrats might be okay, but he won't get it through the Republicans. I don't think so.
Okay. I'm on H-1B visa, which I got via change of status. Do I need to get H-1B visa stamped?
Ramzaji, there is, as I just said, when you are inside the US, we only care about your I-94, not about your visa stamp.
Okay. My H-1B extension is approved and good till September 2027. And also I-140 is approved in November 2024. Got laid off in September 2024. And since then, my employer is running the payroll. Will this cause a problem? So he's getting money for like last 2 months.
Romal, if they are paying you and you're not working, genuinely paying you, if they're just running a dummy payroll where they just pretend to pay you and don't really pay you, get out of that situation. Okay. And just leave the US and come back on another H1. But if they are running a genuine payroll, you can continue to stay here. That's perfectly fine. No problem.
Okay. Are there any issues changing from T1 visa to green card with dual intent?
I haven't done a T1 ever in my life. I have no idea how that works.
Okay. All right. I'm currently on L1B visa. I have an approved H1B petition status with 797B counselor, notification with the same employer. Can I do amendment for change of status without going outside of US?
Yeah, you can. Yes, Tulasiji, you can.
Nice. And then once they go out,
yes is a complete answer. Okay.
Yeah. I'm curious out of curiosity. So then when they go out,
so is no.
Okay. I know. I said, please elaborate. I just like when you talk. So
sure. You know what time my appointment started this morning?
6 o'clock?
No, and not that bad. 7:15 a.m. Okay.
And
every 15 minutes, I have a conversation. So it goes on till 12:30. And by that time,
how like you must be an extrovert person.
I'm not. I would rather be a listener than a talker. But it's okay. That's the job I chose.
Nice. Okay. If EB2 national interest waiver is approved for 180 days and moving back to India, so if I want to come back, what's the process? Do I have to transfer I-140?
So Vishalji, NIW can be filed in one of the two ways. Either it ties you very closely to a particular job, or it ties you to a much more diffuse field. If it's tied to a particular job, you have to come back to similar job or same job actually. No, NIW, similar job. Okay. If it's tied to a diffuse field, you have to come back to work in that field. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you are a mechanical engineer and your H-1B was approved because you have expertise in biomechanical devices. It's a diffuse field. Okay. On the other hand, your NIW was approved for a particular job that you are doing for a particular employer where you're making heart valves, biomechanical devices. Heart valves, it was said specifically that's what you'll be doing. Chances are government can insist, well, that's the field you chose. So you've got to work in that. You can't work in artificial limbs. But if it was a diffuse field, you could work in artificial limbs to come back.
Okay. I'm on F1 OPT and my STEM OPT will begin tomorrow, 13th February. I got laid off 2 days ago. I do have approved STEM OPT from my previous employer. What are the steps to be considered here?
So when you say approved STEM OPT from my previous employer, are you saying you have a 9I-83 approved from that employer? So what you'll have to do is you'll have to contact your DSO, preferably by email. Check with your old employer, make sure that they still are willing to hire you. Because otherwise you can't. If you have been laid off from that job, you cannot really use that. I think there are two employers in the picture here, right?
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. So if the old employer for whom you already filed a 983 is willing to take you, just check with your DSO what you have to do. Okay. And if they say, if the old employer is not willing to take you, then you are going to start accumulating unemployment.
Vishal says his EB2 national interest is not self-petition.
So I'm not concerned about who petitioned it. I'm concerned about what is the width of it. So if they tied you to a particular job, you can come back to that job or similar job.
Yep. Okay. I recently applied for EAD and I have job offer going to join on 2nd June. Can I travel to India month of May if I have EAD and employer letter?
I would say at least accumulate a few pay stubs before you go. Okay. And Anmolji, make sure that you have a letter that says that the job will continue when you come back. And don't make it a long break. Couple of weeks may be okay.
Okay. I'm graduating with a master's degree in May 2025 for H-1B registration. Do I need to register under the cap or non-cap category?
So May 25 and the lottery is, well, so the lottery is ending on March 7th or is it beginning on March 7th? So April 1st is when we start and we have 90 days to file. So you should be, Rahul, you should be able to, first of all, how can you register under a non-cap category? What you're saying is, do I register under the bachelor's category or master's category? That's the question, right? Because your master's is not yet complete. It'll be complete in May. Okay. So you can definitely register under bachelor's category if the degree is okay and your lawyer suggests it's okay. You can also register under master's category if by the time you file your H-1B, your school can give a letter that your requirements are complete. Okay. So because May is close enough and you might be able to get that letter from school, but double check with them, you can actually file under master's degree cap. Problem is, if you filed under master's degree cap and you have not received your master's by the time you file your H-1B, you are out of the lottery.
Okay. Will it be difficult to get F1 visa for second master's if you want to do a career transition?
This is a conversation between you and the visa officer. Nobody can predict the outcome.
Sorry, not on this subject, but I was married to an Indian citizen when I was in US online. How can I get out of this?
So, first of all, I'm not sure how you get married to somebody online. I'm not sure I understand.
Is that even a thing?
Well, there is something called proxy marriages in the Islamic tradition. There is no such tradition in Hinduism. I don't think there's any such tradition in Christianity as well, but I'm not an expert. So I'm not sure how you get married to somebody online. But here's what I think you should do. Whichever state in which you are, you need to talk to a domestic relations lawyer, a divorce lawyer in that state. And figure out your rights with them, because it's not an immigration question, it's a divorce question.
Okay. My wife is planning to come from India on H4. She is a doc completed MD, and I'm planning to attend SMILE exams 1 and 2 from India before coming. Is she allowed to do observership in H4 and attend SMILE 3?
USMLE 3. So to the best of my knowledge, yes. Because they've not done anything to observerships on H4. I don't think so. So she should be able to do her observership on H4 because it's not paid and there's no clinical involvement. It's basically just observing. So I think she should be able to do that and take her USMLE 3.
Okay. Have you seen any issues with H-1B visa stamping done in Canada, especially with the current situation under Trump's rule?
No, Ramzaji. I haven't seen anything, but again, that I'm not the good Lord. I don't see everything. But I haven't heard anything. So if it were a major recurring issue, we would all have heard it somehow.
All right, we'll take one last question before we go. And again, tomorrow we will be back. Yeah. And tomorrow it's early.
It's 12:30 Eastern time.
12:30 Eastern time and 9:30 California time. All right. Here's the last question. I'm on F1 STEM. My mother, 81-year-old, on B1, B2 with me for 6 months. I take her to India 20 days, come back. We're visiting in March. Will that be issue?
So Anirudhji, there is actually a provision in law, at least in the State Department's standard operating procedures, where they say, look, sometimes a very close relative is not entitled to a derivative visa like F2. Okay. But they are so close, we will let you keep extending their B1, B2. So I've done that for 5 years. That's the maximum I've done. Keep extending every 6 months. Okay. And what I told my clients was that let me do it the first time so that you know what I do. And then you can repeat that pattern over and over. But they always keep coming back and you do it. So we did that for 5 years. For your mom, that could be an option. If you are okay with, she's 81 years old, it's nice for you to be able to take care of her. So you could do that. Now, if you want to know more about it, I hope you can write this down. Google Foreign Affairs Manual. Foreign Affairs Manual. That is the standard operating procedures of the State Department. And in the Foreign Affairs Manual, there is a volume 9. So it's called 9 Foreign Affairs Manual. You can run a search, 9 Foreign Affairs Manual, cohabiting partners. Cohabiting partners. It should bring you to a B1, B2 provision that says, sometimes we'll give you B1, B2 because there are situations, what if you're gay partners and your country doesn't allow gay marriages? We're going to let you come in. And it's true for all close family members who live with you or used to live with you.
Okay. I said last question, but there's something urgent emergency.
No issue.
I got detained in F 2023 and applied for a medical withdrawal and got accepted. But since I was outside more than 5 months, I was told to apply for a new visa again. When do you think I should apply?
So, Rohit, I'm assuming you're talking about an F1. Okay. It looks like you're talking about an F1. When should you apply? What are your chances? That's very difficult for me to predict. But you should apply whenever you're ready to resume your studies.
Okay. And then my employer HQ office location is changing. The new location is across the street from the old building. Will this impact my PERM process?
Not even a little bit.
All right. Cool. Okay. I think then that is it. We will be back tomorrow. Thank you, Rajivji. And we will talk soon.
Take care, guys.
Chalo. Bye. Wait, you hold on.
I know the routine by now.